How's it going, everybody? On September 30th, 1982, Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska was released. Now, I'm not here to bury Bruce Springsteen or to praise him. I've been a fan since I was 16 years old. For me, it was the album Darkness on the Edge of Town, and particularly the song Racing in the Streets that put the hook in me. It was the first song by Springsteen I ever heard. And that song spawned an enduring love of a great deal of the man's music and a friendship that has grown into a brotherhood throughout these long years. And that's probably best left for another podcast. When Nebraska first came out, though, we didn't have the benefits of a couple of decades of hindsight. We didn't have a movie. We didn't have a book. We didn't have the internet where we could dig through interviews and reviews and psychological and emotional studies of where Bruce was at the time, or, pieces about what the words mean or what the backstories to the songs are. All we had was the dark, gritty, unexpected, what the fuck did I just listen to moment that was Nebraska. And in that moment, the album had to speak for itself. And if you wanted to know more, you had to listen. And the music is dark. The music is removed. It's distant. It's dusty. But yet it's also some of the most intimate and heartfelt music the man has ever written. And all these things speak through that piece as it stands. Before the album was released, Springsteen took his band into the studio, along with the demos, and tried to get different versions of the songs that included his band, but he was never really happy with it. In fact, he himself said, "I went into the studio, brought in the band, re-recorded, remixed, and succeeded in making the whole thing worse." So the decision was made to master what he brought in and release it pretty much as is. Yet here we are, all these years later, faced with the prospect of the release of a boxed set of deep dives, of acoustic versions and an accompanying staged acoustic concert. And the versions of the songs as recorded by his bands, which have come to be known collectively as Electric Nebraska. And it's funny to think that this piece, which was perfect as it was, now needs to be tweaked and restamped and rebranded. I'm not here to offer an opinion on that. People's heads and hearts will direct them whichever way they need to go. I'm also not here to talk about Springsteen anymore. You can't swing a dead cat these days without running into somebody who is, and so that's all I have to say about Springsteen in Nebraska. But what keeps coming up for me is how this ties in with a conversation I had recently about the need to crawl up into our heads and to overthink and to intellectualize and to own. How many times in our lives are we handed something that's perfect as it is, that all we have to do is simply just step back and let it be? I think of my own experiences in carving. I've had these spoons that I've really, really loved, that I've worked out of cherry or mulberry, whatever. And as I stand there and I look at it, I think, I just need to make this one more cut. And I do. And it ends up being the one cut too many. And then suddenly I'm left holding something that was completely different than what it was intended to be. Same thing happens with my writing. Oftentimes I'll edit the shit out of something, and what I'm really doing is stomping the life out of it, so I end up going back to what I originally had, and that thing lives and breathes on its own. You know, I've talked to a lot of people about this process of spiritual healing, deep emotional recovery work. And so often we get bogged down in the fucking weeds with this, and we feel like it's just never going to end. We feel like we're getting buried. We have these arbitrary goals that we set for ourselves, the way things should be, the way things need to be. When they don't line up, we start to blame ourselves. We start to feel as if something is wrong, as if we're not doing something right. And that's really what this whole thing is about. It's the idea that there's a process going on, and that process is unfolding. And all we can do is show up for it, do the work we're called to do, not worry about the results, and just let the thing live and breathe on its own. But you know, our need to do that often comes from growing up in these households where we were told our opinions didn't matter, we were worthless, we were stupid. We were told how to behave, what to do, what expectations we had to live up to, and we internalized that stuff. And then we begin to feel that maybe we're broken if we can't live up to it. And we go through a whole bunch of conflict, but so often what that conflict is the truth of our spirit arguing with the lies that we've swallowed. We put these things on like a mask and we stare at them in the mirror and we begin to accept them as our own face. But they're not. No amount of living up to that is ever going to make it happen. And so we have a choice. We can take this arbitrary notion and we can try to beat ourselves into shape so that we can become that. Or we can just let go. We can breathe. And we can let the thing stand as it is, as it was meant to be, perfect in its imperfection. Until next time.